And now from the very sublime to perhaps a lighter touch on our show. And we're really proud to have a guest all the way from Hollywood who has been also on the front lines of fighting the war of words for Israel against some pretty heavy anti-Israel voices. Ben Gleib. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Flora, and everybody. Thank you.
How long have you been in Israel for?
This is day 8.
How's it going?
It's going good. It's going really well. I've been here during better times before, so it's wild. You know, this trip is very different purpose than coming before, which was just to meet girls and get drunk. This is the opposite of that.
Yes.
Any girl came up to me, I'm like, please, not this trip.
Not now.
And don't offer me any alcohol.
No. Well, I do need the alcohol some of the nights.
Oh
I do
God,
need some.
tell me about it. Ben, you are most famous for, at least in the last few months, for co-anchoring on the Young Turks with not friend of Israel, Cenk, what's his name?
Cenk Uygur, yes.
Cenk Uygur, who is Turkish, one of the founders of Young Turks, and at the moment, very loud, prolific, anti-Israel voice. How do you manage this? How can you stand this man? And how can you really sit in a co-anchor a show with the crap that he spews?
Can I add one thing to that?
Yep.
And why?
Okay, well, the first, let me just say, he is anti-Israel very strongly at the moment, and he yells at me in these debates about that, and I try to debate back. He is a good man, however, and I do think he cares very much about people in general. I just think he sees this war completely wrong, as much of the world does, and he doesn't. I think he's seeing it through a simplistic lens that is what a lot of people are. They're buying into a lot of the propaganda that's being fed, because to his credit, he still has me on the air to lead anchor when I'm on with him and frame the story as I like, present it as I like, and then he just yells at me and says I'm wrong. And when other anchors lead the stories about Israel, it is completely the opposite, and they're throwing around terms that are not at all fair and are quite maligning of this nation. So to his credit, he has me on the air still. Why do I do it? I never understand why anybody resigns when they're in a position of power or with a reach of voice that they could actually affect change. That just literally causes the problem to be worse. You know, I never understand when somebody's in an administration that is corrupt and they're like, this is so corrupt, I'm leaving and I will have no effect on making it any better.
Right.
My one chance. It makes no sense. You're in there, like, you know, we do enough preaching to the choir in our echo chambers on social media. I could quit the network on a protest stance on this and then just talk to people who already agree with me.
Right.
Or I can stay on this network and have more and more people hate me every time I go on the air, but maybe convert a few minds. And I've already seen some shift in the comments of some people being more open-minded to what I say. Not a lot, but some.
Once you explain how you're co-hosting and really given free reign, I mean, that takes away the why, because I threw out the why. No, I agree with you. But do you feel, you say, well, you're starting to see some kind of, moderation or different kinds of questions. Do you think that you really are able to have an influence?
Yeah, I don't have a poll of these people, but just from my gauge in the comments and the viewer comments that we read on air, originally they were terrible. I mean, people calling me Genocide Ben, like
baby
they call
killer, no?
Baby Killer.
Gen
I
Ben.
don't know, I like Genocide Ben.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Gen Ben.
I'm gonna
Gen Ben.
Yeah.
I want to get that on my
a name
license
tag.
plate at home. That's the move. So now they don't use that as much, and they're not. Some are saying that they're happy now. They said they used to think I should be off the air, and a lot of people trying to get me fired from the air. But then now they say, like, actually, I'm convinced it makes sense to hear both sides. And Cenk also defends that. To his credit, he says, you have to hear both sides. He says, I call it genocide. Ben doesn't see it that way. You have to hear both perspectives. So it's a pretty big strike against somebody to erroneously call it a genocide, but at least being open to hearing the alternative, that it's not a genocide when the people who attacked you are the ones who literally are intending and trying over and over again to commit a genocide.
Right.
It's a weird flipped time. Everybody's looking in the mirror and reflecting outwardly what they see internally and don't want to address. It's very strange. It's very wild.
Yeah, it's also just not a genocide.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing.
Right.
It's just not.
100%.
It's not.
Conflicted about the idea of representing both sides with someone like him, only because I agree with you in principle. but only because it's not genocide and there are actual definitions. And so to say there are two sides when there is a definition and it is not that is a little bit problematic for me. I would still show up and debate him. And
That's
if you
what I'm
ever want
saying.
someone else to join, I'm in favor. However, I am conflicted about that.
Well, I'm completely
about that issue.
Exactly, but the options are just
Either let him have the
millions
whole
of people
platform
be
or
100% convinced, or have somebody point by
push back.
point in real time push back and say
Yeah.
very ridiculous, stupid comment, makes no sense, and bring some sort of common sense. I think the way I see it, and as I watch the debates back, it seems to me
You
like
watch yourself?
only in this topic because
Okay, I
I
never
want to
watched
be
He
myself.
wants to do better.
Okay.
I know.
do better.
I do watch it because because we're very self-critical women. So I'm always like, I could have said this and I should have done that, and that facial expression does not look good at my age. Anyway.
No, I mostly watch it back just to see how good I look and to pat myself
You're
on the
a very
back.
handsome man.
Yes.
Thank you very
and
much.
single, ladies.
That's
single.
right. True
And in
that.
Tel Aviv, not this trip, but on
Yeah.
the next trip.
Not
We're going to
this
be
trip,
focusing
correct.
on finding him a
I've got
wife.
a
That's
dollar
right.
for you.
Thank you so much.
And
Every
his-
time you say it, someone says that, it doesn't work out well, but DMs are open.
His Israeli mother will thank us forever.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, one question I have about Cenk. He's Turkish, right?
Yeah.
Is he a Erdogan mouthpiece? Is Young Turks getting any money from Erdogan?
No, not at all. I mean, the network was started by Cenk and two
Yeah.
Jewish friends of his, and the name is just, I don't know his stances on
It's a great
everything.
name, by the way.
I don't
Almost
agree.
as good as the quad.
Almost.
I don't agree because it's so polarizing, and the network is not Turkish. When I have to tell people I'm an anchor on the Young Turks, they say, "Are you Turkish? What is it? Turkish news? Does this
You're
come out of
Turkish
Turkey?
Jew?
Is it funded by
So
Erdogan?"
this is
All
the
these
same crowd
questions.
that's never actually heard
It's
of
just
World
a
War
name.
II.
Yeah, but
they don't know
Correct.
what, right?
My-
Yeah,
my
people don't like sequels. It's the main reason.
But they don't understand, whatever.
Yes.
Oh.
But my question is, if he isn't a mouthpiece of Erdogan, does he oppose Erdogan? Is he a groupie of Erdogan? Because he's on the same side of this debate as Erdogan right now. And a lot of my Turkish friends in the diaspora hate Erdogan and hate what he's doing to the only kind of secular Muslim country who could be very influential, and in the end, they're just going towards, radicalization. So how do you, what does he think about it?
I don't know the answer. I don't think we've ever discussed it on air when I've been on.
Oh,
and
please
so,
do.
Please.
But yeah, maybe I'll bring it up next
Or
time.
let's
But
bring him to the quad. So that
he would be happy. I mean, if you would
Really?
zoom him
Oh, I'd
in, he would
love
be
him.
happy to
I'd
come
love
on.
to
Let's
have
zoom
him
in.
on.
Let's zoom him in.
He would love to do it, actually, I'm sure, because he's
It'll
also
be a
running for
bad day
president
for
right
him.
now. And
He's
so
running for
Right.
president,
He is.
and does he happen to be a misogynist as well? Because
Yes.
those are our favorite types of guests.
Well, that's the only way you can win as president in America.
Very true. Very
but
true.
Ben, you also run for
I
president.
did
Tell us
run for
about
president.
that.
That's why I didn't win, because I'm too nice to people and I respect women.
You're
My
not
apologies.
misogynist enough?
I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, Ben. And you didn't have sleazy affairs.
No,
So it wouldn't
no.
have gone
But
down.
next trip, again, I'd like to remind people. No, it wouldn't have worked out, but I ran just in efforts to stop Trump. I believe he's an existential threat to democracy and to truth in the world, and is somebody who's just the most blatantly selfish person in it for only himself. And I was very afraid when I was watching the early 2020 campaign, and all the candidates running against him on the Democratic side were just cautious politicians who were speaking very boringly, and I didn't think they had any chance to win, to be able to beat a man who's just the greatest flamethrower. He's the biggest heckler in political history, and the way you beat a heckler is with a comedian. And that's what I do
Well,
well.
it worked for Zelensky.
It worked for Zelensky. Yeah, a lot of people that criticized my campaign, their first question was, "You're a comedian. Is this a joke?" And then Zelensky becomes the hero of the world, and they're a lot
Yes.
quieter now about
But
that.
you know what your strategy should be, because Zelensky actually had a show about him being the president.
He did.
Yeah.
And then he became the president. So maybe Netflix should give you a show about you being the president, and maybe that's what'll get you in.
I want to be in the writer's room.
That's the deal. If you know anybody at
All right.
Netflix, please pitch this. I'm open to it.
I got people.
Or you can create an alternate reality here on the Quad where you start referring to me as the president of
Oh.
America.
Also an option.
That works.
Yeah.
So Ben, according
President, Mr.
according to
President,
your
please.
logic, are you not concerned this time around that Biden is not going to beat Trump if Trump ends up being the nominee? Like, what is your concern right now?
I'm
Is Gary
concerned.
Newsom your governor? going to be the candidate for the Democratic Party? How do you see
Listen,
it?
I am concerned. I don't like that Biden just had his 105th birthday, and he's not the sharpest he's ever been by any stretch.
He's been amazing on Israel.
He's been amazing on Israel.
Really?
First president
The
to
adult in the
fly
room.
during wartime to Israel, and he's really been great. So a lot of people who are saying they won't vote for Biden again because his stance on Israel is not strong enough are idiotic. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, and
in your world, in the kind of progressive.
Yes.
Right.
And people are turning on him. I don't understand that, but whoever
Probably
is.
because he released $6 billion to the Islamic Republic of Iran.
That's a good point. It's a good counter argument. But that deal was in place beforehand, and people aren't taking proxies into account as they should. That's a fair point. But whoever is putting the prompter speeches in Biden's sunglasses is generally doing the right thing for Israel at this moment. And so
I want to give him credit that he is, and he has been always declared Zionist, and he has some good people around him.
He has some great people around him.
Yeah, and so
Blinken is actually the president, in my view. But
Blinken.
Anthony Blinken.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
at least it's not Obama, which would be a disaster.
Yeah,
because he's been terrible on this conflict, whereas
He's not
the
been
Clintons
great since the
have been
conflict.
amazing.
Yeah, they have been speaking out nicely.
And
for
Michelle
sure.
has been silent on
Terrible.
silent on Bring Them Home. Silent.
Bring them home. She had the
Disappointing.
Bring the Girls Home
Yeah.
when Boko Haram did exactly the same mass rape and kidnapping, and we've heard nothing from Michelle Obama. Shame on you.
It has been very, very sad because it's easy to stand for returning hostages when it's not controversial.
Shouldn't be political.
Yeah, when it's controversial, that's when you still need to show that you have some sort of gumption, some sort of morals to stand by.
Yeah, but why would
Why
it even
is
be
it
controversial? They're hostages. They're civilians taken.
Like,
that's
I don't even-
precisely
Well,
the problem.
15-year-old
answer to
girls
that-
getting serially raped in a dungeon.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you put it that way, obviously, but obviously the counter argument is that people think once you weigh into that side, they don't see it as they agree it's horrible. They don't see it as bad as people losing their lives constantly every day, and so.
But they didn't apply
It is
that.
inherently
It's worse.
political.
They didn't apply that to
I
Nigeria.
prefer to die than be raped in a dungeon.
They don't what?
They didn't
on a daily
apply
basis.
that logic to Nigeria.
They didn't
Michelle
apply that.
Obama did not apply that to Nigeria, right? So same argument.
Yeah, I'm not here to defend that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I don't get the principled approach.
Ben, let's finish on a really positive note and tell us a little bit about your mom, who is Israeli and did the army in what year? You showed me a really inspiring picture of your mother, really attractive woman, surrounded by men, looking like a real badass in the army. Tell us a little bit about her and how she inspires you.
My mom is a total badass. She's amazing. She's Israeli. She's from Zichron, Yaakov, and she went to the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and she was a teacher here and an actor as well. Before she met my dad and moved to the States, served in the IDF, and because she was very beautiful and strong and amazing, but I think mostly beautiful, they put her dead center in the front of the troops. Of the pictures.
Look how equal we are.
Yes, and for the same reason, Moshe Dayan recruited her to work in his office.
Oh my God! Did
And so
she
she
manage
worked-
to? Did he meet to her?
She says he was very respectful to
thank
her,
God.
that he was hitting on everybody else, but not the girls in his office. So that's at least impressive. But that's because they always
Boundaries, you know?
that's because they always stood to his left, so he did not see them.
Oh my God!
They were not able. They were able to evade it. He
out
thought
of
it was an
sight.
empty office. Yeah.
He
He
didn't
thought
see
they were
how.
on the phone with him. They were like, he was like, "Get me those files." They're like, "Yes, sir, I'll be right in." They just throw the files in and stay out of the office. So that worked. But she's an incredible woman. She is, I think, like a lot of Israeli women, she's a very sweet, kind-hearted woman, funny, sarcastic, but sweet and kind until you mess with her. And then she, one time she called into my podcast, Last Week on Earth, available right now, where
called
podcasts are
into
sold.
your podcast?
Well, she just
Your
called me.
mom?
She just called me once
That's
on the phone.
hilarious.
And I picked up and I had a guest on, and I said, I'm going to pick up my mom and bring her on the
Good boy.
on the podcast. And,
Jewish boy.
And I said, Mom, it's so nice talking to you, but I'm in the middle of the podcast. I got to go. And we were talking about the Middle East at the time. And so she says, no problem, sweetheart. I will let you go. But just remember, I can disassemble an AK-47 in 10 seconds with my eyes closed. Bye-bye.
Casual.
These are the type of women we love. And today, without Ashira here with us, you, Ben, historically are the first time that the Quad has allowed a man to, to be the number 4 in this
I'm honored.
group of very badass women like your mom. So
I am
we
honored.
take inspiration from women like your mom.
Me
And we are
too.
very happy that she produced a son like you who in wartime comes in, flies in to stand with your people and make it as funny as this horrible situation can possibly be, but at the same time really, you know, having the moral clarity to fight the people who are against us. So thank you so much, Ben Gleib.
It is my pleasure, and I just wanted to thank you three for joining me as a fourth branch of your quad. And I'm so glad that things in Israel are finally evolving to a point where men are getting an opportunity.
Yes, right?
I really appreciate that.
Yes.
We've needed this for a long
The
time.
matriarchy is exhausting.
Yeah, give us a shot. We're going to prove you right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Ben.